Ayan. So, I entitled this topic, Nutritional Approach in Chronic Kidney Disease. So, why should I tell this to lay people or people who don't really have CKD? Later, you will find out that you have to be concerned about this. And it's very important that we know our body, we know the systems in our body so that we can take good care of it and that we will live a lifetime that's productive and functional, fully functional. All right, so by the end of this lecture, I hope that the participants, you will be able to state the importance of nutrition for CKD patients and define the CKD dietary recommendations for intake of calorie, protein, sodium, potassium, phosphorus, calcium. And then explain the role of nutritional supplementation in CKD patients. Wait, Lobat, ano lang, saksak ko lang to. Oh, first of all, good morning. I was not able to say good morning to everyone. Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah.
Awake na
Good
ba
morning.
lahat?
Okay, so first we have to come to the understanding of what we are made of, our human body. There are two categories, no? In terms of composition, we have the dry and the wet components. So for the wet component or composition, we see that more than 50%. So to be exact, it's 61.6% of our body is made up of water. So that's the big chunk of our composition is made of water. So that's how important water is. What does it do? Take a look at the box. Within the cells, it helps in metabolism. And then in the blood plasma or the liquid part of the blood, it helps in the transportation of your oxygen and nutrients. It helps in the regulation of your body temperature. And then it eliminates the waste or unnecessary components and regulation of liquid in the body. And for the rest of the components, they are under the dry category, and they are proteins, fat, carbohydrates, and minerals. So our body mass is made up of all these. Where do we get this? When you see protein, fat, carbohydrates, mineral, diba? It's very familiar. It's what they are teaching us. You have to eat this, and therefore we need to eat all of those because that's what our body is made of. So next, let's take a look at the molecular structure of these proteins, fat, carbohydrates. Ayan. What are they made of? So look at carbohydrates, fats, and protein. What is common among the three of them? Answer.
CHO. CHO.
Yeah, that's carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, diba? Pero what's the difference with protein? They have nitrogen. So you will find out na bakit when something goes wrong with your body in terms of metabolism, of converting this into smaller molecules, why do we restrict protein for those with problems in the elimination of toxins or waste products? Ayan, please remember this, okay? So carbohydrates, fats, protein are made of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and for protein, there's addition of nitrogen. So siya lang yung naiba. So there must be something special about protein. Okay, so let's take a closer look at their makeup. Sabi natin, they're made up of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and addition of nitrogen for protein. So look at their molecular structure. So our body is made up of all of those. Diba? The 40% is made up of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. And then there's nitrogen for protein. So that's who we are. So next, let's take a closer look again of, teka lang, taas ko lang to. Yan, of our body composition again. So the main elements of life, 96% of the body mass is made of the CHON. Yan. So naintindihan nyo na, yung protein, yung carbohydrates, yung fats. 96% are made of CHON. So when you look at your body, yan yung mga laman ng body natin, yung body mass natin. And then there are also essential minerals and they comprise about 3%. So those are your calcium, phosphorus, potassium, sulfur, chlorine, sodium, magnesium, iron. So you cannot do without the minerals. Okay? Kasi there are millions of biochemical reactions that's happening in our bodies. And those biochemical reactions will not proceed if the needed mineral is not present. So meron siyang processes, no? Meron siyang chemical reaction. Hindi siya magpo-proceed without these essential minerals. So it has to be made available. And there are trace elements as well, but they are composed only of very trace amount, 1%. Kaya siya tinawag na trace elements. So those are your fluorine, zinc. Even though it's trace, it plays a vital role. Diba? Yung zinc mo when you're sick. When you're sick, you are prescribed zinc because it's anti-inflammatory and it will help in the building of your immune system. So even though it's trace, it still plays a very big role in your health. So copper, iodine, manganese, yan. Later you will learn about manganese, molybdenum, selenium, chromium, cobalt. So let's go again to take a look at the human body picture. We have said that 61 point something percent is made up of water, but some books would say it's 65%. And then the rest, the 40 something or 39%, are made up of protein, carbohydrates, and fats. But if we look at the elements of those, they are carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, mostly 96% of that. 96% of the entire. So, yung mga elements na yon that I have said, it looks familiar when you look at the soil. When you look at the soil, they have the same component as our bodies. As previously said, whatever the soil make up, usually we have it in our bodies. So we are really a mineral man. Yeah. So we need to replenish every day these things. So that's why we eat protein, carbohydrates, and fats because we need them. Every day we need to replenish it because every day there are metabolism that's happening in our bodies. It's being broken down. It's being balanced inside the body. So we need to make sure that we have all these things. Okay, but can you eat the soil so as to get these minerals? No. Okay, so the mineral content in the soil will have to be taken by the roots of your plants. And then the plants that contain the minerals, because the minerals came from the soil, will be converted to an edible form for humans and for animals. And then humans, for us to have those minerals, we eat the plants or we eat the animal that ate the plants. So we can have those CHO and N. Okay? So now, this saying, let food be your medicine and medicine be your food, do you now understand it? Because we are made up of the minerals, water. So whatever we take into our bodies will be our food. But it will depend on what type of food you will eat, di ba? So sabi, you are what you eat. If you keep eating only fats, di ba meron siyang percent distribution, macronutrient percentage or macronutrient percent distribution. If you don't follow that, then you will have a problem with energy, no? So you are what you eat. Like if you eat puro fats and puro processed foods, then that's exactly what you will be made up of, because you already know the elements that we need. Okay. So, all right. So this is just this will show you the metabolism of the macronutrient. So we said that when we say macro, you need this nutrient in large amounts as against micronutrient. So when you micronutrient, you need it in smaller amounts. Kaya nga you can take it in a pill kasi you only need it in small amounts. Pero when it's macronutrient, you need it in large amounts. And when you say macronutrient, it's referring to your carbohydrate, your fat, and your protein. And they are your main source of energy. Okay? Think of macronutrient as providing you with the energy. And the micronutrient as providing you with the essential elements or substances that you will need for the metabolism, so that your macronutrient can proceed with the metabolism that will produce energy. Or kasi pag yung carbohydrate, fat, and protein mo, when it's broken down to the smallest form, look at the first row above. It says in the intestines, when you eat your protein, sugar, and carbohydrate, when they enter your intestines, they will be broken down into the smallest form. Okay, your protein will be broken down into amino acids. Okay, so parang Lego, di ba? Kunyari yung Lego na form mo siya ng car. Pag kinain mo yung car na yun and it reaches your intestines, it will break it down into the small parts ng Lego. Yung may color yellow, green, red. So, ano na siya, broken down into pieces. And then it has to be broken down into the smallest form, that is amino acids. And when it enters your liver, those amino acids will now enter the mitochondria, or the powerhouse of the cell. It's called powerhouse because once your amino acid enters the powerhouse, it will generate energy, or what we call the ATP. It will generate energy. Kaya meron kang strength to sit down, or even to lie down, or to walk, or to study, or to stay up the whole day, ganyan, or to do construction, ganyan. So you have the energy. However, some of the proteins that are not used up, some of the amino acids that were not used up will become protein. So babalik siya, hahanap siya ng mga iba-ibang components ng amino acid, whatever kunyari is available. Let's say I want to repair the muscle. I need, let's say, amino acid blue, green, in a sequence of blue, green, yellow, blue, green, yellow. So those blue, green, yellow Lego has to be available. Tapos noon, they will join together to form the protein that I want for the muscles. Or if I need a protein for the liver, let's say it's all green, so I need to have all green amino acids so that I can have protein for my liver. So that you will have your protein. Now, when it comes to sugar, look at the sugar in the intestines. It will be broken down into the smallest particle, which is your glucose. Because if it's not broken down into the smallest particle, it will not be able to enter the cell. And it will not be used up. And it will not be able to generate energy. Remember, macronutrient is your source of energy. So your sugar has to be broken down to the smallest part, glucose, and then it will go to your liver cell to generate ATP, to generate energy. But those that were not used up, the glucose that were not used up, will now be stored in your liver cell as glycogen. So yung liver mo is like a storeroom, a stock room. Now, if I have excess glucose, I will stock those glucose that were not used up to generate energy. I will stock it they will be stored in the stock room as glycogen. Okay, so they will stay there. However, if the room is already full of glycogen or glucose that is to be stored as glycogen. So there will still be glucose outside of the room. And those excess glucose that are outside the stock room in the liver cells will now go to your fat cells. It will now be deposited in your around the liver, let's say around the liver, kaya ka nagkakaroon ng fatty liver, or kaya you have so much fat in your stomach. So they will go to your muscles, they will become fatty, all right? So next is your triglycerides. When it comes to triglycerides, when they are in the intestines, they will be broken down, and they will be broken down into the smallest part, which is glycerol and fatty acids. And when they are broken down into that simplest form in the liver, they will now go to your liver cell to be converted into triglycerides. And then triglycerides will be broken down to glycerol and fatty acids, which will generate your energy. Kaya yung fats mo medyo matagal magamit as your energy source kasi it has to be converted first to triglycerides. And then another is your, di ba yung main source, yung if you want energy agad, you take sugar or carbohydrates. You take carbohydrates or sugar. That's your immediate source of energy, and protein as well. But triglycerides medyo matagal, medyo later siya, no? So the others, when you convert triglyceride to the smallest form, glycerol and fatty acid, it could also roam around. It could go to the systemic circulation and be deposited to the muscles and the adipose or the fatty tissues. So is this clear? Okay. So we said that macronutrient is your source of energy. Okay? So why do we need to know about kidneys? Ano ba yung role ni kidneys about this? All right. So these are your kidneys. They are fist size that is located at your back, about the flank area. And they have the nephrons. And that nephron, yung mga yellow na bilog-bilog na yan, those are your nephron. They contain glomerulus. And that glomerulus is your filter. Okay, so your kidneys, they eliminate toxins, or they eliminate the waste products of metabolism. Di ba yung metabolism is from a big product, it becomes to the smallest molecule so that it can be used up. In the process, there are toxins or waste products that are being produced so that they can turn into a usable form. And those toxins or waste products will now be filtered in your kidneys through the glomerulus. Ayun. Yung glomerulus nyo, dyan siya, parang strainer siya. Now, the blood that has been cleaned, yung natanggal na yung mga waste products mo, will now be returned to the system, will be returned to the blood, and the blood will be clean without the waste products. But those excess water and products, waste products, will now be excreted or be eliminated as urine. So that's the function of your kidney. So you can imagine if something gets wrong with your kidney, this function will be affected. And therefore, you will be retaining waste products, and waste products will have bad effects on your health and on the different organ systems, and even in the balance of pH in your body. And there will be dysfunction in the balance of your electrolytes. There will be imbalance of your electrolytes. Yeah, so this is just a summary of what the kidneys are doing. So kidneys, they are able to metabolize vitamin D into its active form, okay, because they form calcitriol that the bones can use. And then your kidneys also balances the pH. If something goes wrong with the kidneys, then yung pH mo will be more acidic. We are alkaline, our environment. Our body environment is alkaline. So if you keep eating, let's say, acidic food, you, instead of yourselves repairing already those that needs repair, it will, because of the acidic environment, your body will try to put its function, or try to ano yun, bring back the alkalinity instead of doing the repair. Okay? So there's also excretion because of the metabolic pH, but it's able to balance pH. Kaya hindi tayo nagiging alkaline is because your kidneys are able to excrete excess hydrogen, and it's able to absorb bicarb that will balance or buffer your acid. And then your kidneys are able to synthesize hormones. It's able to produce your erythropoietin, EPO, and that has something to do with red blood cell production. And therefore, if you have kidney problem, if you have CKD, the synthesis or the production of your EPO um, will be decreasing, and your red blood cell production will also decrease. That's why most of the CKD patients will manifest as anemic, and they become very pale, especially in the end stage or in the later stage. Okay. And this one, renin, has something to do also. The renin will have something to do with your blood pressure regulation. And kidneys also, they have a big role in fluid balance. So if something goes wrong with your kidneys, it cannot, there will be a problem with fluid balance. So you retain water. And BP regulation, I've already mentioned as well, with the RAAS system. So there's such a thing as the RAAS system. And then there will be electrolyte imbalance if you have CKD or if you have kidney problem. You cannot excrete potassium and sodium, and therefore you will find that kidney patients will retain potassium and will retain sodium, and that will even be very toxic to the remaining nephrons. The remaining few nephrons that you have will even be affected, and therefore later that will be destroyed, and you will progress to the ESRD, or the end stage renal disease, or some would call it end stage kidney disease. So that will later require replacement therapy. When you say replacement therapy or replacement treatment, that is referring to your dialysis. And then it won't be able to eliminate your body waste or your nitrogenous waste. Sino yung may nitrogen among the 3 macronutrients?
Protein.
Protein, very good. Okay, so yung nitrogen mo, the reason why we want to restrict protein when you have kidney disease is because your nitrogen will produce waste products such as ammonia, and then that ammonia will produce a lot of hydrogen, so tataas yung acid level mo. And some would be converted to urea and some to uric acid. And alam nyo naman, diba, if you have elevated uric acid, what happens to your joints? And it's also, if you have increased uric acid, your kidneys will also be affected. It can destroy your kidneys. And your urea also will cause, if there's increased urea, then it will cause symptoms that's manifested with dizziness, nausea, vomiting, seizure. That's why we don't say that if you have chronic kidney disease, we don't say limit your carbohydrate. No. Do you say limit your fat? No, they don't have nitrogen. But we restrict protein because it has nitrogen that will produce waste products that will require kidney elimination. Is that clear?
Yes.
Para kay mga
Yes.
kinder. Okay. So what happens if the body cannot handle the usual processes that maintain body balance or body homeostasis? Okay, so your kidney will be defined as chronic kidney disease if you have abnormalities in the structure or the function of the kidney. If that abnormality is present for a minimum of 3 months, then that's already chronic. Okay, but if it's not yet 3 months, acute pa siya. All right, so when it reaches 3 months minimum, that's already defined as chronic. And the estimated glomerular filtration rate, that's the measure of your kidney function, should be less than 60 ml per minute per 1.73 meters squared. So that will fall under the stage 3A or grade 3A. So yan yung, when you say CKD, ito na yung definition niya. Okay, so that is the KDOQI guideline definition. All right, so let's go to the classification. Look at this meter, parang speedometer. All right, so the normal value of your GFR is between, it will still be considered if your GFR is within 60 to 120. All right, that is stage 1 and stage 2. Okay, so basta nasa 60 ka pa. Remember the classification of CKD, it should be below 60. So once it's below 60, you're already in stage 3. So 45 to 55 GFR, you are in stage 3A. Okay, stage 3A. Tapos 30 to 45. Oh, tama. 30 to 40. Andito naman pala yung nahirapan ako. So, your G3A or stage 3A, your 45. Oh, sorry, ito pala. 45 recording, ayos. Your stage 3A is having a GFR of 45 to 59. And then your stage 3B or grade 3B is from 30 to 44. And then your stage 4 is from 15 to 29. All right. So once it reaches stage 5 or grade 5 or estimated glomerular filtration of less than 15, if you enter that, that is what we call the point of no return, meaning that the deterioration of your renal function over time is inevitable and irreversible. Okay, so this yellow is like heads up for us to really be aggressive in helping the patient, okay? Helping the patient to at least not progress to the next stage that they are in. Let's say they are in stage 3A, that is having a GFR of 45 to 49. Our target is to maintain them here for as long as we can. Okay? So this is may sira na eh, di ba? So what we want is for them to stay here so that they would not reach the red one, the 15 GFR and below, because that's when you will require already renal replacement therapy or dialysis. And the quality of life in this red area is really very poor. Like they're not doing anything anymore but to have their dialysis, because that by the time they are done with dialysis, they feel so tired and they will just sleep. And the moment they regain their strength, it's now time for their second dialysis. So the quality of life is really bad. So we can do something while they are here in the yellow part from stage 3 to 4 to delay the progression to kidney failure or to end-stage kidney disease. right? Once you are on dialysis, the mortality that is 50% in 5 years. So you will die in 5 years, 50%. Okay? Kidney disease facts. Most people with kidney disease don't know they have it. That's why it's very important that we educate even those who don't think that they have kidney disease. The moment you are born, you have billions of cells in your kidneys. But depending on what you do or what you eat or the lifestyle that you have or practice, then those cells will be dying. Okay, so the progression, the rate of progression to kidney disease will depend on how much you do insult to the kidney cells. Okay, so 843.6 million, that was still in 2017. They say that approximately 1 in 10 will have a kidney disease or CKD, chronic kidney disease. 1 in 10, but I saw in some it's 1 in 7. So let's say in the room of our conference, how many are invited? So 1 in 7 or 1 in 10 don't know that they have chronic kidney disease. So this is really very important because the problem with kidney disease is they don't have symptoms. With heart attack, you have chest pains. So you can go to the hospital, you can go to the doctor. With kidney disease, the only manifestation they have sometimes, they go to the doctor when they feel so tired. And upon examination, they're already in ESRD, end-stage renal disease. So sad, right? That's why it's very important that we educate not only those who have who know they have kidney disease, but even those who do not have. So look at the middle box, increasing death rate. So plus 41.5%, 1990 to 2017. So they're predicting that by 2040, it will be the fifth, CKD or death due to kidney disease will occupy the 5th rank as a cause of death by 2040. In 2017, it's the 12th. What is the main cause of CKD? It's number 1 is diabetes. So sino may diabetes dito? Number 2, hypertension. Sino may hypertension? And number 3 is weight. So those 3, okay, those are the 3 common causes of your CKD. It kills more people than cancer. So our target is to slow down progression to dialysis or to end-stage kidney disease or end-stage renal disease. So what we will do is to make sure that we will give them the right dietary intervention. This is the mainstay approach, dietary intervention. Of course, along with the other medications that they will need, depending on the comorbidities, depending on the other problems that the doctor will find in their blood examination. Okay. So what happens now? What happens when you have kidney disease? So your calcium, let's say you eat this one. Can you see my cursor?
Yes.
Okay. So when you eat diet, let's say you ate something that's with calcium and phosphorus, it will cross your intestines. This one is your intestine. The pink one is your intestine. It will cross your intestine. And then what will happen is it will activate your thyroid gland. Actually, it's not the thyroid gland, but those 4 small pink dots, that is your parathyroid, which will release parathyroid hormone. And when you release parathyroid hormone, it will cause the bones to release your calcium and your phosphorus. So your bones now will weaken. And then you will have more calcium and phosphorus in your system. And the problem is when you have so much phosphorus and calcium, it will not be eliminated by the kidneys because it has lost its function of eliminating those that are in excess, di ba? In balance, it cannot balance anymore, even the fluid. So there's retention of your phosphorus and your calcium. And the calcium, calcium from the bone is taken out. It is released, and therefore the bone weakens. There's phosphate retention or phosphorus retention as you decrease GFR, as the or as the kidney function progresses, then you have more retention of your phosphorus. What about if you take dietary protein? Let's say your diet is has high protein, and then you take in amino acid, tyrosine, and tryptophan. They will cross your intestines, and then your protein, we said, will be broken down, diba, into smaller molecule, your amino acids. And then your amino acid will enter the cycle to generate ATP, but it will also generate waste products, your urea. But the problem is it cannot eliminate your urea, and therefore you will have accumulation of urea and you will have uremia. And that's when you feel all those symptoms. You cannot sleep, you have difficulty sleeping, you're nauseated, you're vomiting, etc. And it will also have an effect on your blood vessel. They will sclerose, or they will become hard. Okay, what if, you eat protein and it's broken down already into amino acids while it has not entered yet your intestine? It can produce also a lot of hydrogen, okay? A lot of hydrogen, and that would mean that there will be more acid production. So your pH, the environment in your body, will now be acidotic, more acid. And as you increase in your destruction in your GFR, no? Let's say your GFR is continues to go down, or your chronic kidney disease progresses to the next level with a lower GFR. Okay, so it will all the more hurt the remaining competent or the remaining functional nephrons. So more will be destroyed. CKD and dietary protein will increase your urea, your phosphorus, and it will cause acidosis in your environment. That's why it is being recommended that with protein, you decrease the intake to 0.6 until 0.8 grams per kilogram per day. Okay? So the normal, we said, is 1 to 1.2 or 1 to 1.3 grams per kilogram per day. We don't want a high protein. I hope you already understand why, no? By this time. But for somebody with CKD, we want to bring it lower to 0.6 to until 0.8. But with those who are diabetic, sometimes diabetic and with CKD, sometimes we want it at 0.8 gram per kilogram per day, because of the issue of caloric or glycemic control. So let's take a look at your nephron. So your nephron is your strainer, right? So if you increase protein intake when you have CKD, what will happen to the blood vessel that will bring the blood to the nephron, to the glomerulus? They will dilate. Okay, when they dilate, they will increase the pressure in your glomerulus. But when your protein is low, or you restrict your protein, they don't dilate, and the pressure would not be as much. It will be the regular, or it will lower the pressure, and therefore it will not cause insult. Okay, so there's we don't want an increased pressure in the capillaries, in the nephrons, in the glomerulus. Yeah. Okay. So when you take in a lot of potassium, remember, we already have high potassium. So you're adding more potassium because your kidneys will have a decreased potassium excretion. So you have accumulation of potassium. And what will potassium do? It will cause your the rhythm or the beat of your heart dysrhythmic. Okay, so they will not be normal, and that can kill you. Okay, so what are we to consider when we have a CKD patient in terms of calories, protein, sodium, potassium, phosphorus, calcium, fluids, and vitamins? If you were able to get the physiology or the processes or how things are metabolized or how things enter into the body and what happens when your kidneys do not function and what happens to these minerals or to these macronutrients, then you'll be able to answer this. All right, so let's go to our product. Nulupo and Suplina are intended for those not in dialysis. But the first three products, Nurino, Novosource, Nephro, they are intended for those already in dialysis. Okay? So we just see here that Novosource, Nephro, PH, and Suplina, they are in liquid form. 237 ml is equivalent to 1 glass of water. So, yeah. But with Nurino, it's powdered, okay, and the same way for Nulupo. The only advantage here is you can control the solutes or the diluent, the amount of fluid, because sometimes they have a problem of fluid retention or already edematous, so the doctor will have to limit their fluid intake. And you can play around with the fluid or the the solvent that you will use for Nulupo and Nurino. By the way, I looked up Nephro. They also have powdered form. Okay. So the protein per serving is 0.8 grams for Nulupo. And if we compare Nulupo with Suplina, so these are the two that we'll use for those still not on dialysis but they have CKD. The lowest protein, the product with the lowest protein is in Nulupo, 0.8 grams. Okay, will you just be happy about that? Usually, the patient who are taking low protein will also have the problem of protein energy malnutrition. And if you are malnourished, the more malnourished you are, the greater your risk of death. Okay, the greater your risk of death. So, we don't want that. That's why if you will look at the macro percentage of Nulupo, it's compensating. You cannot just bring down the protein. Okay? You have to make sure that the calories the carbohydrate will compensate. That's why we have C63. 63% of the energy will be coming from the carbohydrate. Okay, so you may decrease it, but your carbohydrate will somehow compensate for the energy that it will require. So with Suplina, it's also low, 10.6, but Nulupo is very low. Remember our pathophysiology of when we take in protein, it has nitrogen element, and therefore it will produce a lot of waste products, but your kidney is already compromised, and therefore it cannot eliminate those waste products, and it will have the different effects in your body, and that will all the more progress to the next level. Like, let's say you're only in stage 3A, but you're not watching your protein intake, it will be easy for you to proceed or progress to the next level. So I don't know, I have not shown the graph yet. Okay. So yeah. So this is clear, no? And then the calories are greater in your the other products, but in terms of Nulupo and Nurino, we have lower calories. Okay. Lower calories because this can be taken twice a day, right? 200, yeah. 200 times 2, and Nurino could be taken once, twice, thrice. So Nulupo rin, once or twice. Remember when you have CKD, it's a must that you work with a dietitian, a registered dietitian. The patient should work with a registered dietitian. This is just a supplementary meal. This is not a replacement meal. This is supplementary, and therefore there would be computation for the right amount of calories. If you're taking 200 per meal, let's say 200 per meal, because I have counted that with 30, you're supposed to have like 30 calories per kilogram per day. So if you are 70 kilogram, you will more or less need, if you divide that into 5 meals, you will need 400 calories in one serving. Now, this one is already giving you 200. At least you can eat other food giving you the 200. But if you use Suplina, then you cannot eat other things. But Suplina will already provide you with the calories that you require for that particular meal. Okay, so this is why your Nulupo will be your ideal because you can still play around with the calories. Gusto mo ba na puro milk lang yung kinakain mo, di ba? So some would still want, but you just have to be wise in your choice of the food that you eat. It must be low in protein, and then your Nulupo would also help in that one. Remember, our goal is protein restriction. Okay? Ayan, this is the graph that I wanted to show you. Okay, so the left, this is the y-axis, right? Sino ba yung may alam? Y-axis and this one's the x-axis. Okay, the horizontal line represents the years. Okay,
Yeah, that's the
follow-up time.
x-axis. The follow-up time is x-axis. The
Okay,
cumulative
yeah.
incidence is the y.
Thank you. So this is the x-axis, the horizontal. And that represents the follow-up time in years, okay? And the y-axis, the vertical line, it is the incidence or yung nag-proceed sila, the incidence that they became ESRD or they had death, okay? So if you use the usual protein computation for a normal or regular person without CKD at 1 gram per kilogram per day, then you see that the progression in 4 years' time is going higher and higher. Okay, so that the percentage that you will enter the point of no return is close to 30% if you take in high protein. But if you reduce your protein diet at 0.8 or 0.89 gram per kilogram per day, you see there is a delay in the progression of deterioration or of entering the point of no return. You see that there is low percentage of entering into that point of no return or having death. Okay. Next, this is the protein guidelines. I'm just showing it to you. So there are different studies or different guidelines from the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics for non-diabetic CKD. You give 0.6 to 0.8. But if you're diabetic, it's 0.8 to 0.9. I think it's for the sake of glycemic control. Because if it's very low, then the calorie, they also need to have those calories for glycemic control. I mean, it will be coming from the protein rather than the carbohydrates. Then, KIDOQI, this is the kidney disease outcome quality. I forgot the I, is it index or initiative? Okay. For CKD stages 1 to 4, it's 0.6 to 0.75. Some would do, in some studies I saw, they would do 0.55. Okay. And then in KDIGO guideline, it's 0.8, as long as your GFR is less than 30. Okay, they found out that if They made a study here, a meta-analysis. They were non-diabetic with CKD, and they gave them low-protein diet, and they saw that with a low-protein diet, there is a decreased percentage for death at 32%. 32% decline for the risk of death. Okay. Just with protein restriction alone. So if you are non-diabetic but you have CKD, if you do low protein diet, you will have a 33% decline of entering the ESKD, of entering renal failure or death. But if you have diabetes, for this one, it's particularly type 1 diabetes, there's a 44% decline, nagde-decline yung urinary albumin, meaning that they're not throwing as much protein. So there's improvement with with low protein diet and with GFR decline, meaning that they are able to delay the progression only with protein restrictions. Now, in another study, multi-ethnic study of atherosclerosis, they saw that total non-dairy animal food was used. They saw that 11% increase in albumin. So if you use animal as the animal source of your protein, there will be an increase of 11% in albumin. But when you use vegetables or plant-based source of your protein, then there will be a decline of 20% in your albumin creatinine ratio. So it's not just restricting protein, but it's about the type of protein as well. So they are promoting that plant-based source of protein will be good for CKDs. Okay, so high intake of non-dairy animal protein in women, this is a study. There's a greater decline in GFR if they take animal protein and if they increase it to 10 grams. Okay, 10 grams per kilogram. Okay. So they, as you increase non-dairy animal protein intake. So if you use animal protein, there's a greater decline in your GFR. This one. So if there's they made a study comparing animal protein against soy, and they saw that with soy there's a decrease, there's an increased clearance of, with animal protein there's an increased clearance of albumin, significant. Okay.
Doc Elaine,
Yes.
question lang the animal protein versus plant protein, I know it's very important for kidney disease, but for people without any issues naman with the kidney, is there a benefit for them to, I'm just, this is, off topic, but I'm just curious whether there is a good reason for people to actually go vegetarian and not take animal protein.
No, because your kidney is functioning. Your
Okay.
kidney is
So
functioning, so you
okay.
can eat. But anything in excess, let's say you don't eat vegetables at all. Remember the macronutrient, they come in percentage. And your body is composed of that. That's why I had to show you what your body composition is so that you will know what to eat. Okay, so it always has to be carbohydrates, fats, and protein, and food in variety. It cannot be that you just eat meat. Because eating meat means, and then you don't have the vegetables, because your more of your vitamins will be coming from the vegetables. So there will be an imbalance as well. So anything that will put your balance in all aspect, electrolytes, in elimination, in acidity, alkalinity, because taking processed food, let's say taking processed foods, that will be very bad, because if you're taking that all along every day, you know for a fact that later on it will take a toll on your health. Like you need, because these will create a lot of waste products that are creating insults to your kidneys. That's why your kidneys will have to be taken care of. So if you want to eat vegetarian, you want to be plain vegetarian, just make sure that your protein intake will be sufficient from the plant source. But when it comes to kidney disease, it has to be plant-based because of when it's plant-based with kidney disease, they have seen that the progression is to a worst kind of staging or to progressing to the ESKD or ESRD is delayed. So yeah, soy
Got it.
protein, yeah, will decrease your urea, nitrogen, proteinuria, serum phosphorus. Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you.
Let's look at the protein source, okay? So I looked up that, do we have other sources for Nulupo or mali ako dyan?
No,
Are we
it's purely soy siya. You're correct.
great? Okay,
Yeah.
so we're the ideal. Because the rest have combined soy casein, which is from animal, then whey, ay, doble, whey, and then soy casein. So we have good source. Low protein and plant source. So if you take in high protein, remember what it will do to the blood vessel going to the glomerulus. It will dilate. It will increase the pressure, the intraglomerular pressure, and therefore there will be progression of your chronic kidney disease. We don't want them to progress to the next level. We want to stay them. We want to halt it. We want to stop as much as possible to where they are. Dietary protein restriction is the mainstay of nutritional therapy for CKD, and this is the recommended number. So with plant proteins, you have less influence on the hemodynamics and lower net acid production. Ayan, lower net acid production. Kasi yung plants mo are more alkaline, right? So phosphate in plant origin, another thing is the phosphorus or the phosphate in the plant have low bioavailability, meaning that if you take in the plant-based diet, your phosphorus will only penetrate or be absorbed at a level of 10 to 30%, as against to animal, which is 60%. They will absorb phosphorus or phosphate at 60%. Pero if it's plant, it's only 10 to 30%. So we don't want phosphorus. Phosphorus comes from your soft drinks. They come from your cheese. And if there is a linear progression, let's say the level keeps going up, your phosphorus keeps going up, it has a linear correlation with death. You will die. As much as possible, we don't want phosphorus. We want it down. We want to bring it down. Okay, especially with you have CKD, if you have CKD. Now, I already mentioned this. Okay, in terms of osmolality, so last time, now we were able to discuss osmolality. The three of them are hypertonic. So we know that if you're hypertonic, the water will move towards the hypertonic solution. So that will give you more water. Water will be coming out from the cell going to the extracellular or to the lumen, okay, as against Nurino and Nulupo. So Nurino and Nulupo, if you will notice, most of your components are in the lower range, right, as compared to the three of this. That is because as you add more component, you are increasing the osmolality. They contribute to the osmolality. This I discussed last time. So this study shows that a patient was asked to take in atenolol, and they used different fluid based on osmolality. So they use this color black is apple juice and it's hypertonic. It has a lot of fructose in it. And what they did was they started with 100% or 100% of the water. And this was in rats, they did it in the rat. They did it among the rats. So they took the water from the intestines after x-axis, after 60 minutes or after 30 minutes, they found that there are more water. From 100, it became 150% because it's hypertonic. The solution is hypertonic. Therefore, the water went to the hypertonic solution, which is the apple juice. But when they use the purified water, which is hypotonic, they started with 100. And because it's hypotonic, the water will go to the hypertonic state, which is the inside of the cell. So the water from the purified water went to the inside of the cell. And therefore, when they extracted the water from the lumen, from the intestine, from the inside of the intestine, they found that there are less water. Okay, so from 100, there were less water because they went to the inside of the cell. Now, these two, the square and the triangular, they are two isotonic solutions. Okay, so they found that after 100%, when they started with 100%, both the isotonic solutions somehow were still within the range of what is ideal. Okay, so it did not really go up to the level of hypertonic. So it is just what they expected. Okay, so here, sugar, here, look at sugar. So they said, there was a study that was done and they gave high sugar at 169 gram per deciliter. And then another intervention arm, is with the lowest sugar intake. And they found that 100% increased risk of CAD incidents with high sugar. Okay, so as we have said, we want to delay progression. So we have low sugar in both. So what about having diet soda or artificial sweetener? So they studied an intervention arm that will take less than 1 glass per week of diet soda against the intervention arm who will intake greater than 7 glasses of diet soda per week. And they found that 100% increased risk of CKD incidents on those who took more than 7 glasses. So we don't want sugar. Okay, it is showing us that there is a risk of incidence of CKD. So it will increase, it will not delay progression, or it will hasten the kidneys to be destroyed even more and enter into the point of no return, your ESRD. What about fiber? Okay, up here, the fiber, okay? Fiber decreases the risk of CKD incidence by 50%. Okay? But ours is lower than Suplina. But each 5 gram per day increase in fiber will decrease by 11% any CKD incidence. And every 10 gram per day increase in fiber will decrease 19% of death. So 10% decrease in BUN concentration. But too much fiber can increase bloating. We're just providing sufficient or enough fiber. But it's not our main, main feature for our product. But nevertheless, we are giving fiber. For sodium, the recommended sodium requirement, but that will increase the bulk of the concentration of your powdered supplement. So with too much sodium, okay, it has been shown that it will cause a decline in your GFR. Diba? They are saying that for you to take care of your kidneys, lessen your salt intake to 2 grams per day. Okay. So the upper limit here is 2.3 grams. Or for CKD, they're recommending it to be 1.5 grams. Okay, with sodium restriction, they saw in a study that they restricted the sodium, and we have to mind really our intake of sodium because it decreases the blood pressure and the diastolic blood pressure. So by sodium restriction alone, it's like you're already taking an antihypertensive. And they have seen that proteinuria, there's a significant decrease in your proteinuria, meaning you're not throwing off protein in your urine. So one way for you to know if you have a problem with your kidneys is to get a urinalysis. And if you find that you have protein in your urine, then check your kidneys. If at what stage you are in your kidney injury. But sometimes it can be just acute and still reversible. Other cases are like UTI. Sometimes you will throw off protein, it will go out because protein is a big molecule. But when you have UTI or infection, your glomerulus or your kidneys will be inflamed, and therefore the spacing will be more loose. And so they can get out. But if the inflammation is treated, let's say the infection is treated, it will go back to its normal state, uninflamed, and therefore it's able to stop the protein spill. But if indeed you have a CKD, even if you treat the protein, even if you treat the infection, the UTI with antibiotics, but still you are still throwing off albumin or protein in your urine, then most likely there's an injury in your kidneys, or then you have to do a workup, measure your GFR if you have a CKD. Okay. So minding the salt alone. So we have the lowest salt in both. How about potassium? We said that we retain potassium because the kidneys cannot eliminate excess potassium. So this is the recommendation for potassium for CKD 1 to 2, which is still normal. You can go as high as 4 grams per day. But once you're in stage 3 to 5, you have to limit it to 2 to 3 grams per day. But yeah, 2 to 3 grams per day. High potassium will kill you, all right? Because it will cause this dysrhythmia, yung sa mga yung sa prison, yung death sentence, they put potassium. They inject you with potassium. So your heart will stop. So here you have low potassium because you're already retaining potassium. Okay, you say, but this one is on dialysis. Remember, they're not only eating this one. This is just a supplement. Have you seen people going for dialysis? They bring all sorts of food. They bring all kinds of food that they missed eating. So you're giving them a leeway to eat what they want. Okay, for calcium, the guideline is less than 2,000 milligrams or 2 grams per day. So parang same lang as potassium and salt, sodium, 2 grams per day. Yeah, calcium here, we have lower. Remember, all these minerals will contribute to the osmolality. So they have very high osmolality because they have very high content of these minerals. So even if you have high content, seems promising, okay? If you have, let's say you really need this much, you really need high intake. But when it comes to the osmolality, there will be like a compromise in the absorption because of the hypertonicity. But with isotonic, there will be good absorption. There's also a study that I saw with regards to, in relation to the one that I showed you earlier, of the water content that increased with hypertonic, but in terms of the concentration of the medication, there was a decreased concentration as against the the hypotonic, because hypotonic was able to enter, and so with the solutes, they were able to enter. So more likely that the isotonic, our products will have a good absorption because of the osmolality, minus the side effects of diarrhea and abdominal side effects. Yeah. So serum phosphorus and mortality. As phosphorus goes up, the risk of death goes up as well. So we don't want phosphorus. Our problem is to bring it down. 1 milligram increase will increase your risk of death by 18%. So 1 milligram lang yung in-increase mo. Ang laki nung increased risk of death mo, 18%. If we compare the source of phosphorus, if it's inorganic against organic are your your animal or your plant sources. And then inorganic are your processed foods, pre-cooked meals, yung mga nabibili dyan, yung pre-cooked na, tapos you just heat them, or cheese and soda. This will be your inorganic sources of phosphorus. So absorption is 80 to 100%. It's so bad. Like if you take soft drinks, if you have CKD, you take soft drinks, you're absorbing so much of the phosphorus. Okay. And then for organic, it's less than 60%. Okay. But when you compare animal source and plant source, yeah, your phosphorus from animal source, you will absorb 40 to 60. But with plant source, 10 to 30%. So if you're going to get phosphorus from your diet, then choose that it be a plant source because of the lesser absorption. We don't want phosphorus. Our problem is to bring it down. Okay, we want a low phosphorus, but we want also a high protein, because in dialysis, you are in a catabolic state, and then the machine takes away your protein. So you want a high protein diet, okay? And you're breaking down your muscles pa, and then you're breaking down the proteins, and then there's so much inflammation. So you want a high protein, no? Kasi when inflammation, you're going to throw off the protein pa. So you want a high protein to replace all those proteins that you have lost. Okay.
Doc, Elaine. So I think one of the things that we discussed before was for our product. Would you suggest that patients take our product before dialysis or during dialysis, and after ba?
It could be both. It could be during. It could be because you can do it during, before, during, after. Before, during, and after.
So pwede naman. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Because you will also, get to see, like, if nagka-cramps na siya before the dialysis ends, then you can give already. You don't wait, diba? And yeah, emphasize during dialysis ito. You ensure that albumin levels are okay. So here, Sorry. Ito na pala, emphasize during dialysis that you ensure albumin levels are okay because you're in a catabolic state during dialysis and then the machine is getting your albumin. So during dialysis, that's when you allow the patients to eat to replace the protein. Maybe by the end, no? By the end. That's why it's in the last hour of dialysis that they give. Okay. In terms of phosphorus, this one, we said ayaw natin yung phosphorus. We have the lowest. Okay, manganese. Take a look at your manganese. Why is it so high against Suplina? What's the role of manganese? Ayaw na.
Hindi ko alam, Doc.
Ayaw nyo kasi sumagot, kaya nawala. Ayan. All right, take a look at the leftmost. Okay, this is a study where they did it to 334 patients with CKD, but not on dialysis, all right? So they separated them or grouped them according to the level of manganese. So this first group are those with low manganese level. The one in the middle are those with intermediate level of manganese. And the one on the right are those with high manganese. Okay. So they found that with low manganese, they saw that ano ba tong brown? Ano ba tong blue na to? Ayun. They saw that hemoglobin is also low. Okay. They found that hemoglobin is also low. And then albumin is also low. And then transferrin, this is the one that transports your iron, is also low. But they did not see any correlation when it comes to lipid or cholesterol. So walang correlation siya because it's normal. But they found that every time for all these patients that have low manganese, this is the pattern that they're seeing. Low manganese, low hemoglobin, usually they have anemia, diba? Because of they lack the EPO hormone that produces the red blood cell. Okay. And then they also have low protein. Yan. As against, ito almost normal na to eh. Almost normal na yung as against those with GFR. Ay sorry, ito GFR 29 to, GFR 30 to. Ito GFR 55. Okay, GFR 55 is stage 3, no? Stage 3A. So they found that those with stage 3A and intermediate manganese have low, what's this? 11.3
Hemoglobin.
almost close to normal to, 11.23. So, pag medyo normal, hindi pa normal, medyo normal yung manganese mo, ayan, yung GFR mo medyo nag-i-increase. Pero ayun, yung sorry, again, sorry. Walang tulog. Pag low manganese ka, yung GFR mo, they saw that it's low. It's nasa 29. But with the intermediate, they saw that GFR more or less is in the 55.64. But if it's high, they saw that GFR is in the upper stage, okay? The upper stage of CKD or the early stage of CKD. Kaya mataas yung manganese.
Actually, Doc, there is
So-
in that chart that you showed kanina, there is in the first two phrases there, I think are very helpful description because it says here low manganese value in blood might favor renal disease progression. So the reason why we need to have high manganese is to reduce
Yes.
the progression or stop it, diba?
Yes. Kaya tingnan mo yung look at the levels. If you have low manganese, you also have low GFR. But those with high manganese, they have high GFR. So yan yun. Low manganese, favor progression, but high manganese will retard progression.
Doc,
So,
sorry, go ahead,
Kaya
Jane.
merong high manganese dito. Kasi
so yan yung,
we are preventing.
so
Bakit?
yan,
Sige, go.
yeah,
Go.
sorry. So,
Sorry.
I guess, so yan yung star ingredient natin.
Mm.
Key factor, I guess. Diba? Yung difference. Yung
No, I
difference,
think, yeah. So I think I agree with you, Jane. I think that's one of the key factors. Pero when we
yes.
spoke to the supplier, apologies, you weren't in that call. Pero one of the things that he emphasized was typically for kidney disease patients, ano naman sila, they're active, they're walking, and hence parang the product that they develop, which is the one that we have here, New Lopo, is more of like a supplement rather than a meal replacement. Kasi most people with kidney disease, they can eat naman eh. They can walk around.
Yeah,
Now,
exactly.
the other thing that Doc Elaine already talked about earlier was the fact that you want to really control for the protein, but then these people still need the calorie intake, for the day-to-day activities, and this is one of the few products with the lowest amount of protein that they can take as a snack without having to worry about, oh, will this add to my protein budget for the day, because they're supposed to really keep the protein intake at the minimum. So this is one of
Yes.
those the best in the market right now.
Yes.
So actually yung dalawang product natin na Renal is supposed to be the best talaga in the market.
Yeah. Yeah.
And remember, you cannot just lower the protein.
Yeah.
Because if you lower the protein, there's high risk that they will become malnourished.
Yeah.
That's why you have to understand that it's being compensated with your carbon. 63% of the energy will be coming from your carbohydrate,
Yeah,
not
pero
your protein.
yeah.
That's your macro percentage, C63, P1, diba?
So I guess because nga the intention is really to keep them from progressing for so long as they are at the uh, early stages of CKD, 'di ba? So the goal is really to keep them from progressing. So that's why the ingredients or the minerals, macronutrients have really been well thought of, including the osmolality. Pero for me, as I was listening, yung manganese is a good highlight because
Agree.
because they don't have it in the other products, our competitors. At the same time, manganese helps with the from keeping them to progress into the
Agree.
next stage. And could it be reversed, Doc, pag nasa ano pa sila, yung first stage pa?
No, you don't reverse. You only retard progression.
Oo. So wala na talaga once na
Also, we only delay progression to ESRD, which is the point of no return.
Oo. So
Ayaw
meaning
natin
talagang
mag-dialysis.
yeah, so meaning talagang pag nag-enter na sila ng CKD stage 1, 'di ba? Stage 1, 2, dapat talagang prevention sila. Very, anong tawag dito, assertive, mag-i-assert na nila talaga, mag-intervene sila sa nila, food intake nila.
Yes, dietary approach is the
Oo.
mainstay of therapy.
Oo.
Actually, Doc Elaine, which comes, which actually reminds me of my next question. One of the, I mean, I think for the two renal product, the new Reno for dialysis, I think that one we kind of understand who is our target market, how do we reach them? Dialysis clinic. I think that's one of the best ways to reach our patients. Pero for those with chronic kidney disease, I know you mentioned earlier that there's some factors that you can look at. For example, like if you have diabetes, you're overweight, as potential early signs that you could get kidney disease. Pero yun nga, I asked one kidney doctor, and what she was saying was, it's one of those killers, but it's very, very hard to diagnose. And typically, when you diagnose it, you're already much further ahead, in terms of like stages. I wonder lang, kasi this is more on the business side. I wonder lang whether there is an area or a specialization in medicine, or what are the ways by which we can reach the specialist and our patients if we're just talking about chronic kidney disease.
Okay, if it's chronic kidney disease, number one, syempre kidneys and nephrologist. However, since this would not give you symptoms, like sometimes they would just say, I have back pains, yung pala yung kidney na yung masakit, and then they wouldn't go to the nephrologist, but they would go to general medicine or internal medicine. And if the internist is not also aware that of this information, that's why it's very important that we educate the doctors. Because if we educate the doctors, then your products will be used or prescribed by them. That's how it is. Even the family medicine doctors, you can start educating them on this one, because if they get to know of this, then they will know how to prescribe. They should know how to prescribe. So it's only a matter of educating them.
Got it. And I guess, as in addition to those mga intermed or family doctors, pwede rin tayo mag-approach yung mga endocrinologist, tama ba? Because diabetes is one of the leading.
Yes, diabetes.
Do I remember correctly? It's diabetes and also overweight, being overweight.
Yeah, no, that's endo pa rin, overweight. Or
Also,
yung mga weight management. St. Luke's, merong clinical nutrition.
okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Copy.
Clinical
Okay.
nutrition na bago yun, clinical nutritionist.
Got it.
Or
Thank you.
nutritionist, mga nutritionist. Because remember, if you are a CKD patient, it will be best, it's a recommendation, highly recommended, that each patient on the CKD will have to consult with a registered dietitian.
Yeah.
We're just providing them with a
Ay,
very
paano
good
to, babe?
product that will help them. But in terms of planning, calculating the calories, everything, because this is not the only thing they will eat. They also will eat meals along with this. So that will have to be computed. Yes, who was
Hi, Doc. I also have a question. Kasi, as mentioned by Jacqueline, one of the challenges with CKD, kasi normally yung mga advanced stages, nagda-dialysis na, or towards that, dun lumalabas na talaga yung symptoms. Pero, obviously, my understanding is, one of the easiest way to know if you have a renal disease is through, of course, a blood test. Is there any other test that can be done? For example, I'm reading because I remember I had a recent medical, and the doctor had me pee on a stick, like this kind of like strip, and I was reading on it, and it one of the things that you can test there is the protein or albumin. At what stage will or protein or albumin be present in your urine?
Even at stage 3A, because it will depend, no? Like, even at stage 3A, it's the early part or the early stage. There will still be category for the amount of protein that you are throwing off. So even if you're in the early stage, it's possible that you're throwing off a lot of protein, because your protein in the urine can be graded as grade 1, grade 2, grade 3. So, pwedeng madami ka rin tino-throw off na protein. So, yan, tama yan, yung bedside, point of contact, yun yung what you call the test, no? Point of contact, ibig sabihin, andun ka lang sa clinic, and yung point of contact mo with the doctor, he'll be able to tell. That's a dipstick albumin test. And even the regular urine that we do, they also do a dipstick on that. So, yung urinalysis can already tell if there are protein in your urine or if there are albumin in your urine.